So this will be my final Giants mock draft for this 2020 offseason. I've done two other mock drafts, and those were really guys that I wanted. This one I'm going to go for like the most accuracy. Now, there was a point in the draft once you get to like round 6 where you kind of just take guesses because you don't know who the Giants are in on at that point. So I kind of just took guys I thought would fit the Giants pretty well. But up for like, the first 4 or 5 rounds, I think it's picks that the Giants could actually make. So that's basically what I'm trying to do here. This one's for accuracy. The other two were just my preferences. So with that being said, let's get into it. For round 1, pick number 4, assuming they don't trade back, I have Jedrick Wills Jr., the offensive tackle from Alabama, going to the Giants. So most Gettleman or Giants front office quotes so far in this whole press conference, video press conferences we had so far based off the quotes they've said, it's mostly about fixing the offensive line. And, in my opinion, Jedrick Wills is probably the most polished and NFL-ready offensive tackle in this draft. Probably the best pass protector in this draft as well. That's definitely what I've noticed. And Gettleman admitted that Nate Solder had a rough year last year, or tough year last year, no doubt about it. So, when you're saying that about your left tackle, I'm pretty sure even Dave Gettleman would realize we need a good left tackle here. I don't think he's comfortable going into 2020 with Nate Solder as his left tackle. Now, you could say you could take one round 2, but then again, I've said this many times, the guys at round 2 are not even close to NFL ready as the guys you would take at number 4 overall, or even 5 or 6 if you trade back. So that's, my argument about that. So I do think trading back this pick is definitely a possibility. I don't see it happening. I'll believe it when I see it, and I don't really think the Giants would do that. It's hard for, a GM like Gettleman to trade back because he hasn't done it yet. It would probably be the best move to accumulate more assets, and especially the Giants not owning their own third-round pick would be a nice idea to actually trade back and get some picks for it. But here's some quotes about the offensive line so far that's been said about Gettleman. The first one is, "We'll continue to build the offensive line. Is it a pressure point? To a degree. I'm not going to deny that, but it's about getting the right guys, not panicking." So that was said about the offensive line. Then the bottom quote was, "It's very, very difficult for Saquon to run the ball if he doesn't have holes." Giants, general manager Dave Gettleman said at a press conference on Friday, "It's going to be difficult for Daniel Jones to throw the ball when he's on his back." So when you put out quotes like that, it's very telling as to what you want to do. So look, since I've been doing commentaries, I've gotten the first, the first round picks wrong in 2018. I did want Baker Mayfield, then went on to Josh Rosen, but those were my preferences. I think we all knew it was Saquon Barkley. Last year, we didn't really think it was Daniel Jones. There were some reports coming out about it a couple of days before, but I still didn't buy it. I was like, there's no way they take Daniel Jones number 6, but then, they went on and did it. So last year, Ed Oliver was my guy, went to Buffalo, but, I do think Jedrick Wills and Andrew Thomas are very close to 1A, 1B for me. I would probably put Wills over him at this point. I do think Wills is a better pass protector and just has better technique, but Thomas is the better run blocker. But I do think having a better pass protector is more important because, honestly, developing your quarterback is more important than having a good run blocker for your running back, if that makes sense. And I do think Jedrick Wills is fine in run blocking. He's not, outstanding like Mekhi Becton even is or Andrew Thomas, but he still gets the job done. So I think he'll be fine there. So this would be my pick. It makes sense for the Giants as well based off the quotes we've heard this offseason. Maybe Joe Judge came in here and changed everything and said, we'll just throw a smoke screen and we're going to take Isaiah Simmons. I could see that happening. I'm not going to be shocked if they take Simmons, but based off the quotes we've heard this offseason, it's definitely leaning towards offensive line. I do think, if I had to guess right now, it's either Andrew Thomas, it's either Jedrick Wills, it's either Isaiah Simmons or Tristan Wirfs. If it's anyone outside of those 4 at number 4, I'd be pretty surprised, especially, if Chase Young fell. That's a pretty obvious one. I'd hope they take Chase Young, but I'm not counting on that. So that's where I'm pretty much at with this number 4 overall pick. It's hard to screw this one up. I don't think they can get this one wrong. If they took Derrick Brown here, I would not be too happy about it. Derrick Brown's going to be a fine NFL player, just not the right fit for what we have going on right now. So my pick would be Jedrick Wills, number 4 overall. So for what was supposed to be our second round pick, I had the Giants trading back into the first round with the Seattle Seahawks. They traded with the Seahawks last year for DeAndre Baker. As we know, the Seahawks, I saw on Twitter, have not made their own first round pick since 2012, which is something that is pretty unbelievable. But once again, I could see them trading back in this draft because why not? So the trade would be the Seahawks receive our second round pick, obviously number 36, and our compensatory pick number 99 overall in the third round. And of course, the Giants get number 27 overall. So why would the Giants do this? They don't have a center right now. And John Halapio, there was a quote from Gettleman saying, "We don't know about Pio until June with the Achilles." So they're definitely working over this draft right now, like, doing their homework on centers, because right now they don't really have a starting center on their roster, and trusting a guy coming off an Achilles tear who wasn't even that good to begin with, honestly, I hate to say it, but it's true, that's a bit of a risk. And I do think a team like the 49ers at 31 can take Cesar Ruiz, so that's kind of why I would have the Giants trading up to get him. Not sure he exactly falls to 36, and it's pretty funny how much he's climbed in this draft process. If you watch my other channel, I talked about Cesar Ruiz being one of the biggest risers in this draft, and it's true. I mean, Cesar Ruiz was probably a third-round pick just a couple months ago, but the more and more people watched him, I guess even draft experts as well, we've realized this guy's actually really good. Like, doesn't do anything crazy. He's not like, physically gifted like some other offensive linemen. I mean, there's not really many centers that are, freakishly athletic in this draft, but still, this is a guy that's not going to overpower you, but he always gets the job done. He has a very high character as well. His teammates speak very highly of him. Definitely a good character and culture guy for this Giants team. I feel like they would love his personality. I know the Giants already had a video meeting with Cesar Ruiz apparently, so they already did their homework on him. He's also one of the youngest guys in this draft. He's only 20 years old. I think he turns 21 before the season, but still, that's one of the youngest guys in this draft. And, he's just a model of consistency. He definitely, as I said, does not overpower people, but he always gets the job done. So I do think that he'd be a very good option at center, even, a guard maybe in the future, but definitely center for this team. So I do, it's hard to predict a trade and say this is what's going to happen, but I do think it's a possibility, whether it's with the Seahawks, or maybe they trade up with the Ravens, the Titans, just to get in front of the 49ers to ensure they get their guy, Cesar Ruiz. And for some reason, I feel like Ruiz is their guy. I'm not positive, and, Dave Gettleman's never taken an offensive lineman in the first round, and now I have him take him too. So, I mean, it's kind of weird how that works, and I'm not sure it's going to happen exactly, but if I'm taking my best educated guess at it, I think the Giants will make a very, strong pitch to get back into the first round and try and get Cesar Ruiz before he potentially goes to another team. So that's what I have him doing for their second round pick, except they're making it now in the first, obviously. For round 4, pick number 110, because now pick number 99 is gone to the Seahawks. I would have him taking Kayvon Wallace if he was available. The draft simulator I was using did not have Kayvon Wallace available, but none of us know, obviously. But if Kayvon Wallace is there, I can see the Giants trying to take him as a slot corner. But my actual pick here, based off guys that were left on the board, is Kenny Willekes. Now, Kenny Willekes was in my first mock draft, so I do like Kenny Willekes. I don't know if he'll be a superstar one day, but I think a very solid NFL player potentially. He's an outside linebacker from Michigan State. So I think, Joe Judge talked about long-term upside, and this is a guy that's been getting better every year in college. I think the last couple of years, from 2018, 2019, he's had 18 sacks combined. He had 8 sacks in 2018, I believe, and then 10 last year. So he's getting better and better, and if you look at his stats overall, he's getting better. So I think this guy was a walk-on, a good story, and, played for some good Michigan State teams as well in the past. So this would be a really good pick in my mind. I do like him off the edge. He, a very good speed rusher. There was actually a video of him on Twitter the other day on his own Twitter account, which I found very amazing. It was just him doing a bunch of athletic, crazy stuff. I had no idea he was this athletic, and he actually had people quoting stuff about him saying oh, Willekes is not athletic, and then here he is doing backflips and then going off the wall and doing backflips. It's a crazy video. So go to his Twitter and watch that if you want to have your mind blown, basically, because I did not know he could do this stuff. So I do think the Giants do need some edge help. I know they have O'Shane Ximines. I know they have Lorenzo Carter. I know they have Kyler Fackrell. But outside of those guys, Fackrell's on a 1-year deal. Lorenzo Carter looking like a rotational player or backup option at this point, unfortunately. I do have high hopes for O'Shane Ximines still heading into year 2, but they might need a future option, so taking a shot on Kenny Willekes, who could definitely help you on special teams, make some tackles as well, not a bad option in my mind. I do think his comparison, I said this in a previous video, I don't know if it's on this channel or my other one, but I did say Marcus Golden is a very good comparison. Now, Marcus Golden, of course, watched a lot of him last year, and of course, when we signed him last year, I went back and watched him at Arizona. The thing that stood out on tape with Marcus Golden was his motor. Marcus Golden was not the best, pass rusher in terms of moves, but he never gave up on plays, and that's exactly what I see from Kenny Willekes. He's a guy with an endless motor, just like Marcus Golden. So I do think those guys have similar. I looked at both of their combines. I might put them in here, the pictures, if I remember, but they have similar measurables, Willekes and Marcus Golden. So it's a decent comparison, not my worst comparison, that's for sure. So, I would throw that one at you. And I do think it's a possible pick. I think Alton Robinson from Syracuse might be another guy because the Giants took Chris Slayton, I believe his name was, out of Syracuse last year. And Alton Robinson, although he's very raw, is a guy who has a lot of pass rushing potential in the NFL. And I think he's a bit younger, maybe like a year younger or so. So maybe they take a shot on him. But I do think Kayvon Wallace would be a nice pick here to be a slot cornerback. As I said before, he was not available in the draft simulator I was doing, so I went with Kenny Willekes. Could be somebody else. Maybe they try to get a slot corner here. There's some other good guys on the board. I do know Terrell Burgess from Utah, I believe it is. He's a good player as well, so we'll see. I have no idea, but I think my educated guess for this one would be Kenny Willekes for pick number 110. For pick number 150 in round 5, I have the Giants taking John Reid, the cornerback from Penn State. So he's at 5'10", 187, local guy from Mount Laurel, New Jersey. I think it's Laurel. I've never even heard of that town, honestly, but he's in New Jersey, so it's kind of local. He's a potential slot corner, I think, in the NFL. Not sure he'd play safety or cornerback. Probably would play slot corner if I had to guess. Ran a 4.49, which isn't spectacular, but it's not too bad either. And he had 20 bench reps, which for 187 is pretty damn good, because I don't know how much the bench is at the combine. Is it I think it's over 200 pounds. So to do that many reps at 187 pounds, very impressive, I would say. So this guy's probably one of the smartest players in the draft. He's a data sciences major. I don't know what the hell that is, but people have talked about his academic skills and stuff like that. So very smart player, and does have really good feet. I think he has good hips as well that you need at slot cornerback. And yeah, I think he's a good tackler for someone his size. Now, I'll admit, I watched one game of him. I am not going back and watching every game of every prospect. I've admitted that before. Trying to pass college as well. So I watched one full game of John Reid, but I was pretty impressed. I was like, all right, this guy can play slot corner at the next level. The Giants, they had an undrafted free agent, another cornerback at the similar size from Penn State named Grant Haley that Dave Gettleman took a shot on. So I'm like, why wouldn't they take a shot on John Reid? It's round 5. They have a need for the position. John Reid's a pretty good player. So yeah, I would say this kind of makes sense. I'm trying to put myself in Dave Gettleman's shoes here, making some educated picks, or educated guesses, I should say. So he does have pretty good ball skills, 7 interceptions in his 4 seasons at Penn State. He's one of the older players in this draft. I think he'll be 24 by the start of next year. Doesn't have great length and did miss some of 2017 with a knee injury. And my NFL comparison, as I mentioned before, Grant Haley, but better in coverage, hopefully. So it's definitely not an appealing thing, but we know, if you watch the Giants closely, Grant Haley was a really good tackler, just had a lot of issues in coverage. But as I said before, I think John Reid has just really quick feet. He does have good hips as well, so he might be better in coverage. I mean, from the one game I watched, definitely seemed better in coverage than Grant Haley. I could be wrong about it. I could see John Reid going in the 6th round maybe, but I think at round 5, pick 150, you're kind of like, all right, we need a guy here. The Giants, Dave Gettleman has taken some Penn State guys before. I'm thinking this is a pick that could happen. I could be wrong about it, but I would say John Reid for pick number 150. For round 6, pick number 183, I think I had this guy in my second mock draft, Benjamin Victor, wide receiver from Ohio State. So this is a guy I just really like. I admit it. I like him. So he's 6'4", 198. There's a lot of good depth at wide receiver in this draft, obviously. Even in the 6th, 5th round, around there, maybe even 7th round, there's some good players out here. So I do think there's a guy that people like, Antonio Gandy-Golden, a guy from Liberty, I believe it is. A lot of Giants fans like that guy. I've heard his name in the comments before. I've seen his name in the comments before. It's possible. I think NFL.com his comparison was Devontae Parker, which is pretty damn good for the 6th round, but I don't know. People say his route running is terrible, and really, when you watch his highlights, it's just him just catching a bunch of deep balls or open slants. I'm not really sold on Antonio Gandy-Golden as a route runner, so I don't know. If they take him, I'll be pretty excited about it because he seems like he has a ton of upside, but I just don't think he's as a complete of player as Benjamin Victor. So the Giants, I think they could take a wide receiver. Of course, Darius Slayton had a really good rookie year. He'll be an outside guy. You have Sterling Shepard, who's a slot guy. They're trying to put at the outside. but too many injury concerns for him to play a full season. And Golden Tate, although he plays every game unless he's suspended, does, he's 32 years old now, I think it is, or maybe 33. I think he's 32, but still, getting up there in age, you never know if something's going to happen. So I do think they have to take that into consideration as well. And Victor did not start many games for Ohio State until 2019. Of course, Ohio State always had a bunch of good wide receivers. 2019, his stats were 35 receptions, 573 yards, and 6 touchdowns. So, of course, I screwed up the touchdowns part, but don't know why we have the quotes there, so disregard that. But anyway, I think Ohio State, they've put out some really good NFL talent lately. Curtis Samuel, who's the Redskins guy? I'm forgetting his name now. Terry McLaurin. I think Michael Thomas was, 2015 or 2016, so, a few years back. But still, Brian Hartline, the wide receivers coach, has done a very good job there. So I don't know what he's teaching over there, but it's been working so far as, for translating to the NFL. So I think Victor's a guy who has all the measurables that you would want. Very good on contested catches, catching the ball at the high point. I think he's very good at that stuff. The thing that's concerning and why he would fall so far is because his strength is definitely in question. Only 9 bench reps, which is probably one of the lower ones in the class. I know for a guy who's 198 pounds, it's probably not easy. I probably couldn't even do 2, so I'm not going to say anything bad about that. But in press coverage, that's also a concern for him. So the strength is an issue, but catching the ball at the high point, his wide catch radius is definitely appealing as well. So there's a lot of good things about a receiver like this. And if he can take care of the press coverage issues and maybe get a little stronger, could be a very good NFL receiver. I did say he had some similar measurables to A.J. Green. Now, A.J. Green, of course, is a different specimen, but when you talk about measurables, I think Ben Victor is pretty close to him. So, this is a pick that could happen. But as I said, there's a lot of other guys that could go around 6. I think Tyler Johnson from Minnesota was still on the board at this point. I didn't think that was possible, so I passed on him. But if Tyler Johnson was here, even though he's more of a guy that should be a slot receiver, that's a pretty good receiver for round number 6. So, I don't know. It could be Ben Victor, Antonio Gandy Golden. There's some other guys. Quintez Cephas, I believe his name is another guy that comes to mind. So there's some good options out here. But for me, I would say Ben Victor would be my guy for number 183. So I can't believe I'm doing this because I always say doing the 7th round in mock drafts is pointless, but I want to do a complete video for you guys. So here we go. 7th round picks. We got 4 of them. Savon Ahmed, the running back from Washington, is my pick here. I also love JaMycal Hasty from Baylor, so that's another guy I would like here, but I took Ahmed. I just like him a little bit more, but I like both guys. So I do think the Giants could use some running back insurance. I don't think Wayne Gallman sticks here next year. I know he's still on the roster, but I think after training camp, if there is a training camp or preseason, they might cut Wayne Gallman, unfortunately. And, I don't know. They have John Hillman. They have Dion Lewis, of course. They have the best running back in football. Hopefully he stays healthy. But, I do think having a third running back that can come in and do some stuff would be a pretty good addition. So I think Savon Ahmed in round 7, not the worst pick in the world. So he's a guy that he displays really good patience and vision. That's the thing I noticed about him. Now, sometimes he could be a little indecisive, but for the most part has really good vision. And he's the type of guy, he did have a good offensive line at Washington, so that's definitely, easier for him. But he just gets the ball, just sometimes pauses, like a Le'Veon Bell. He's number 26 as well, so like a little, Le'Veon Bell in him. Takes a pause, sees what's open, and then hits the hole. He's very good at it. He's not like really fast. I think he ran like a 4.6 40, so he's not like crazy fast, but he has some pretty good explosiveness, so I can't complain about that. And he's pretty tough to bring down as well. His 2019 stats were 188 attempts, over 1,000 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 16 receptions. So I think after Myles Gaskin, I think it was, went to the NFL last year, he basically became the full-time starter. So I think he's not going to be an every down back in the NFL, but definitely showed some indecisiveness as well. So those are the 2 negatives I would say when watching him. But for the most part, I was pretty impressed. His vision and patience was like something you would see from like a 5-year veteran in the NFL, not someone from college. So either Savon Ahmed, JaMycal Hasty. If J.J. Taylor falls, I would love J.J. Taylor. You guys know I love that guy, but I don't think he falls to round 7, unfortunately. So for round 7, pick 218, I think running back is possible here. I'd have him going Savon Ahmed from Washington. For pick number 238 in round 7, I have him going T.J. Brunson, the linebacker from South Carolina at 6'1", 229. So this guy was a tackling machine, kind of like Blake Martinez in a way. Since his sophomore season at South Carolina, he averaged 7.3 tackles per game. If my math was correct, I did it on a calculator, so hopefully I was correct there. But I'm decent at math, I guess, so it makes sense. 7.3 tackles per game since 2017. I think does a pretty good job against, blockers, does a good job of shedding blocks, and a pretty good blitzer as well at times. I mean, when he's asked to blitz, he definitely times it well and can get to the quarterback sometimes. I think he had 4 sacks in 2018, if I remember correctly, 4 sacks in 2018, so that's a pretty good number. He was looked at as a really good leader in college. He does have some negatives, obviously. If you're going to be in round 7, there's got to be some negatives, and definitely not a gifted athlete compared to some other guys. He does not have an Isaiah Simmons or a Patrick Queen type athleticism, of course, and definitely has some trouble in coverage. I watched one game of him just like, some other people in this draft, and it was not good in coverage for him, I'll put it that way. So I think it was against like Alabama, I'm pretty sure, or LSU. It was against a really good team, so I have to take that in consideration, but that's NFL talent right there. So he was not really able to cover those guys, so it might be rough covering in the NFL, but we're talking about like a 1980s type linebacker. I think TJ Brunson would probably be a higher pick, but for today's NFL, not really the type of player you'd want at inside linebacker. I do think he could survive in the NFL, live off of special teams and be a backup, but maybe in the right situation he could thrive as a starter. I'm not really sure, but I think if he's used as a blitzer the right way, I do think Patrick Graham used Blake Martinez as a blitzer pretty well, so maybe in this defense specifically, if Ryan Conley went down again or Blake Martinez, then you could throw TJ Brunson in there. Maybe he does some good things. I would definitely not like him in coverage, but still, I think he could be all right. A good guy to fill in, a good leader, as I said, in college. So there are some good things about him, but definitely not the modern-day linebacker that you'd want covering these really good tight ends and running backs. So, decent player, but that's what you get in round 7. So there is some upside there, but there are negatives as well. But I think in round 7, not the worst pick in the world. So TJ Brunson, pick number 238. For pick number 247, here's a guy who, I just sound like Chris Collinsworth, here's a guy who's been one of the biggest folders in the draft. It is Trey Adams, the offensive tackle from Washington. So I remember just like 3 or 4 months ago, people were asking me about, hey, what do you think about Trey Adams in like the second round? I was like, okay, well, I wasn't really a fan of him because of the injuries. Then he went to the combine, had a terrible combine. Now he's falling to the 7th round, apparently. I don't know where he's going to go in the draft, honestly, but the simulator I was using had him in the 7th round. But my thinking is, like, the Giants aren't the thickest team at tackle, you can say. I mean, Dave Gettleman said the tackle class is quote unquote thick in this draft, and Trey Adams in the 7th round is like, it's just like, why not take it? The Giants, you take a guy in the 7th round, like George Asafo-Ajayi last year, he's already off the team. It doesn't hurt you. I mean, look, it's a very, very, very low risk, but a very high reward potentially. And Trey Adams, his first year in college was like one of the best up and coming offensive tackles in college football. So now, injuries derailed him. In 2017, I think he had injury, and in 2018 had injury. It was ACL and back surgery. I don't know which one came first, but had 2, injuries back-to-back, pretty severe ones. Then played in 2019, didn't look so good. And then, now we're going into the college into the draft, and he's basically falling on people's boards, but maybe it's taking him a while to recover from those injuries. It might take him a full year to get back from those injuries. So if he's drafted and he's healthy and playing at a high level, it's a great pick for the 7th round. And if a guy like Trey Adams is sitting there, I would say, why not take the shot? I mean, I do think he has some, injury concerns, consistency issues, not a good athlete based off his combine. He could have been hurt, I guess, but still, I mean, not a good combine whatsoever. The injuries are the big thing, though, obviously. And, as I said, just a few years ago, this guy was one of the up-and-coming best tackles in college football. So to get him in the 7th round, I'd say you take the shot. I don't see why not. He's definitely one of those hog mollies. He's 6'8" and like 315, I think he is. I didn't write down his height and weight here, but I'm pretty sure it's like he's 6'8", I'm pretty sure. So big man, mammoth guy. And look, if they make it work, if he stays healthy, it could be a very solid NFL career. Of course, this pick has a higher chance of busting, but still, I mean, in the 7th round, I say take the chance. Why not? So I would say Trey Adams if he's there for pick number 247. For pick number 255, the Mr. Irrelevant pick, I believe it's called, the final pick of the draft, I have Christian Rector, the edge player from USC. Every mock draft I've seen for the Giants on Twitter has them taking the kicker Rodrigo Blankenship, or Blackenship, however you pronounce his name. I personally think the Giants are fine at kicker. If they want to take one, I won't complain about it. I mean, Rosas had an off year last year. I think it had a lot to do with Zach Diossi not having a good year, hopefully. And I knew our new center, new long snapper, Casey Crider, will hopefully do a much better job. Friend of the show, or friend of the podcast, I can call him maybe. I don't know. But he's been on here before, so that's cool. But anyway, Christian Rector is a guy 6'4", 270, a bit heavy for the position. I do think if he went to this Giants team and played in a 3-4, he'd be a 3-4 defensive end. I don't see a guy at 270 and a guy who moves the way he does playing edge. He does not move too well, honestly, but he is very strong, so I could see him having a decent career, I guess, if he's in the right situation. So in 2017, the guy had a really good year. So it was his redshirt sophomore year. He had 11.5 tackles for loss, 7.5 sacks. He was playing on a high level, then just started declining since then, and it makes no sense. I don't know why. I mean, this guy had definitely an NFL-ready body, but just wasn't producing at a high level. So doesn't have many pass rushing moves, definitely relies on bull rushing, and, I wish he had a more variety of moves, a wider variety of moves, I should say. Definitely plays too upright, in my opinion, as well, and I don't like that defensive players can wear number 89 in college. Another reason I can't stand college football, but I digress. But anyway, the guy was on a good path, just like Trey Adams, on a good path at one point. In the last couple of years, just fell off. I don't think it was injuries. I think he played basically every game the last couple of years. Not sure what happened exactly. I don't know if he was not being used the right way. As I said before, I do think he'd be better as a defensive end. I don't think he's an edge player. I don't think he has the body type for it. I think he's a bit too heavy right now. If he lost 20 pounds and got a little quicker, then maybe, but I think right now he'd be better as a 3-4 defensive end or even interior defensive lineman. Even if he put on 10 more pounds, he could probably be a pretty good defensive lineman on the interior. So he might have been used the wrong way. There's many options, of course. Towards the end of the draft, you have a selection of everybody between the last guy drafted and all the undrafted free agents, so it could be anybody, but I do think Christian Rector is a guy who at one point showed a lot of potential, and as I said, you could go kicker, you could, I wouldn't say punter, backup quarterback or something, I don't know, many ways to go about this pick, but I do think a guy like Rector, who showed at one point he could do it, would be a good fit. And if the Giants put him in a different position, he could play better than what he's been doing the last couple of years at USC. So that'll do it for this mock draft, and I'll actually show the graphic real quick of everyone on here, so hold on real quick. So here's a list of all the picks to show you guys that I actually did this in a simulator. I did not have the first two on here because A, I couldn't screenshot that big of a screen, and then B, you had to pay for a premium account on here to make a trade, and I don't do enough mock drafts on a simulator to, purchase a premium account here, so that was not going to happen. But here's a picture of the last 7 picks. I have Kenny Willekes all the way to Christian Rector, so all those picks were possible based on the simulator. I know every simulator is different, so of course different scenarios could happen, but this is me trying to put myself in their shoes and seeing what the Giants would do. So last year I got O'Shane Zimenez right, I think. I got Kyler Fackrell right. But usually when I make videos of what I think the Giants should do in an offseason, it's for me. I'm not trying to predict what they do, but this video is more leaning towards that. Of course, when I got to round 6 or so, I was kind of just thinking of late round picks that I like and people that could fit well for this team. So it's a mixture of both. The first half of it was what I think the Giants will do. Last half was kind of just guys that I think have a lot of potential and could be good late round picks. So I do think a pick like Willekes could be made. Alton Robinson, as I said before, could be made. So I do think a guy like John Reid, considering they took a chance on Grant Haley a couple years ago, another similar situation. So it's pretty realistic in my mind. You guys might have some different opinions on that. Once again, I'm sorry I don't have Isaiah Simmons here, and as I said, this could be a Joe Judge thing where they're smoke screening all of us, and it could be Isaiah Simmons. I just don't expect it, though. I mean, there's been too many Dave Gettleman quotes about the offensive line. He basically called out Nate Solder for having a rough year last year, and I know Gettleman doesn't understand positional value as much as I would like it, but I think he's aware that left tackle is very important, especially for a quarterback who had 18 fumbles or some crazy number last year. Pretty important for Daniel Jones' success to have a very solid left tackle. So we'll see what happens. I think honestly though, it might be Nate Solder at left tackle, Wills at right tackle to start the year. I don't know how they would go about it. Let's just get Jedrick Wills first, and then we'll go from there. So we'll see. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you did. If you watched all my mock drafts, let me know which one was your favorite, because I did 3 of them. I don't remember who I took in the first one, but if you guys watched, I'm sure you do. So let me know what your favorite one was. I think this is the most realistic one based off what the Giants would do. But yeah, let me know what your favorite was. Give me your mock draft as well. You can write in the comments, do like, 1-4 and write your player next to it. I would like to see what some of you guys have as well, and we'll discuss that. So thanks for watching. Hopefully we have a good draft. Once again, you could join us for the draft on the 23rd at 7:30. We have a question and answer portion with John Hilleman, the Giants running back. Join us. It'll be on this channel live. I'm not exactly sure how it works. I'm too much of an old man to understand how lives work, but hopefully Alex and Anthony can help me with that. So we'll do that for you guys. It'll be a cool question and answer portion with a Giants player. Hopefully you enjoy that. And we'll watch the first round of the draft together. So we hope to see you guys there. Hopefully you enjoy hanging out with us. Let's go Giants. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.